I'm just trying. Your England is dilated.
Hi, do you go to school together?
She's my younger sister.
Oh my
It's
gosh!
preparing
Yes.
to live stream, but email.
Yes, I met your mother beginning of the year. Oh no, not actually beginning of the year. She was at Tina, Memorial of the Sun.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that was so powerful. Did she tell you about it?
She did. She did. She did. And I also went to Indola. She and Namsa had something in memoriam of her son. So we did like.
Yeah, Mark. Ngisafuna ulungisa nje picture yami.
ASB.
Yeah, but picture yami kunento engisafuna uyilungisa wena Themba. Mancane. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think I'm good. Okay.
Oh, vele wafana ukunosandi Nkosi yami. Please. Oh, and sometimes I try to send a message. I don't know if une number enter congratulating her for being part of the SAT.
I'll send you any number. I'll send you her other number.
Oh, because
Lukanyiso.
Through.
Lukanyiso. Your voice, I'm not hearing you.
I was about to say now.
Uthethela phansi. I'm not sure what's wrong, but you're not coming through your voice yakho.
Let me see.
Are you on your phone?
Yeah.
Can you see volume yayo
mhlawumbe? You put it down, ihlala nge-mic. So you need to lift it up a bit so that the mic is not touching a table or whatever.
Okay.
We have 5 minutes to go.
Okay. Uzaqala ngobani?
I will welcome Abantu.
Yeah.
I will introduce the topic. Yeah. Then ngiqala ngawe Thuli in everything. Because usemcha baby, so funeka avulelwe indlela nguwe.
Okay. I'll carry her.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I don't know. I tried to move it around.
You're still faint.
Let me take it out of the cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vaka. Can you so? Lukanyiso.
Can you hear me now?
I think is this space. No, you still une echo ngoku.
Oh, ndim Georgia lounge. Maybe, I don't know.
That's better. It's better than before up. Kapinde futhi?
But
up, can you hear me?
Use faint kancinci kodwa. But it's better than before, but you can still be better.
Let's try here. I think when I hold the phone closer up, it's easier.
Kuzafuneka ukhwaze.
yeah, she has to really lift up her voice because she's not audible at all.
Yeah.
Yes, it's so weird.
Can you use the voice? Copy the voice?
Can you hear me properly?
No.
You're very low. And we have 2 minutes to go.
Yeah, but
when actually you are very clear. Lukanyiso.
Can you hear me?
Angazama change his face, Fundi, because some it's too big.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's abnormal that the sound is just not coming through from your phone. can she switch on mhlambi phone yakhe ayise ku maximum ku volume and see if it's gonna be better?
Okanye ifakanga ku speaker iPhone yakhe.
Can you hear me now?
That's better.
Eh? You're still low. You don't have another handset that you could borrow?
Let me see. Let me try. Let me try. Let me quickly.
You can join us.
Okay, let me leave.
We've got 1 year to go.
Another one.
Okay. You'll join us.
Can you hear me now, Malu?
Perfect.
All
Right,
right.
guys, we're going in. All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Joining us via multiple social media platforms. My name is Dr. Fundile Nyati. Welcome to the Dr. Fundi channel. Today, we have an interesting discussion. I've got two guests who have joined us today. Utulisile Mhlungu and Ulikanyiso Bingwa. Both of them are mental health advocates. They want to play a role in ensuring that issues of mental health in South Africa and the rest of the world are given priority. So because of that, they are actually doing what most people would not do, which is to come out and actually declare to the world that, yes, I have this mental illness that I'm living with. However, it does not define who I am. So I will allow them to introduce themselves. I think it would be better if they do that. Once they've introduced themselves, then I'll give a context to this meeting. Before then, I go back to them. So, Tuli, please introduce yourself to our viewers.
Thank you, Dr. Fundile. Thank you, viewers, for giving us the audience. I think quickly, I am a daughter, a sister, a mother of two children, a wife to a very supportive partner. I am a lawyer by training, a social justice lawyer, conveyancer. I'm also a business person. I sit on a number of boards, public and private sector. I'm a social entrepreneur, and I think in the context of the discussion today, a mental health advocate. Thank you, Doctor.
All right. Tuli, just one little thing. Is there somebody else who's watching you in the house? Maybe they need to move a little bit further than you. There's a bit of an echo that I'm picking up.
Oh, is it from me?
Yeah.
Is that better?
All right. It sounds better now, right? It sounds better. All right. Were you done with your introductions, Tuli?
Yes, I am, Doc. Thank you.
All right. Ulkanyi, so please introduce yourself to our viewers.
Sorry about that. Hi, Ulukhaniso Bingwa. My second name is Tabisa. And you know, the significance, I just wanted to introduce myself in terms of defining my names. Ulukhaniso being you are the light, and Tabisa being make me happy. And that is what I'm trying to do with being a mental advocate. I'm 25 years old. I'm a part-time student, and I also work as a trainee accountant. I'm a sister. I am a daughter. And I am a partner to a very supportive partner also who's also stood by me during this time. Yeah, so, and then my passion is definitely, my passion definitely is to give back and let people and educate people on mental health and giving back to charities and the community at a whole.
All right. Thank you very much, Ukanyiso. Now, let me just give a context to why we chose to have this discussion today. It's been just almost 3 weeks since we have a lockdown as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic in South Africa. Now, with that, even before the lockdown, a number of people were fearful, a number of people were stressed about this impending, pandemic. And when we were then locked down, it also had an impact, on a number of people, those who never had any mental health challenges and those who were living with mental health challenges. Now, I thought before we have our discussion, let me just look at if there's any research that has been done elsewhere in the world relating to COVID-19 and the psychological impact that it might have on people. So I came across a study that was done by a gentleman called Huyen Wong and others in China. They did this study between the 31st of January this year and the 2nd of February this year. They had about 1,210 responses in their study. Out of, they had 1,210 responses. And what they were trying to look at was, what are the immediate psychological responses and associated factors during the initial stages of COVID-19 epidemic amongst the general public in China. And what came out of the study was that 53.8%, just about 54% of people reported that they had a psychological impact that was moderate to severe. 16.5% reported that they've got moderate to severe depressive symptoms. 28.8% reported that they had moderate to severe anxiety symptoms. And just about 8.1% reported moderate to severe stress. But obviously, this was not uniform. There were variables in terms of gender, whether one was working or a student, and whether there are any other physical illnesses that a person had at the time. So the point I'm trying to make, therefore, is that there is definitely a psychological impact as a result of the pandemic. It was found in this study in China, and I'm sure in any other country that has already been hit by the pandemic, there was that. And so even South Africa is not immune to that situation. And that is why I then decided that let me invite these two mental health advocates to actually come and share with us whether in their own situation there is any change or impact of the pandemic in their day-to-day lives since we had our first case here in South Africa. So I will start with Thuli. Thuli is an eloquent speaker. So you are going to enjoy her. The same goes with Ulukanyiso. Now, Thuli, I just want you to just maybe share with the viewers your journey on issues of mental illness.
Thank you so much, Doc. Just to give context maybe of my journey, I was diagnosed with what the doctor then called borderline bipolar, and I've subsequently found out that it's bipolar 2. And this was in 2011. And I only, to be honest, started complying 100% with the regimen that was suggested by my doctors, my psychiatrist, and my psychologist in 2016. So I think from 2011 to 2016, I was really more than anything, I think self-shaming. I didn't want to admit that I was living with a mental ill health issue. So 2016 is when I really started, I think, the journey of taking responsibility for my own mental health. From then until now, I mean, one of the things that have had to happen in the journey is, for me, I think now I probably am 1 year, maybe 2 months sober, because I'm sure, Doc, as you will know, that my mental health medication that was prescribed doesn't go well with alcohol. Now, to go back to the question of the current context, I remember the day I first found out that there was a case in South Africa. I was at the airport, having just come back from, yeah.
Wait,
Okay.
Julie.
Yes.
You were very fast in giving us your background. I think there's a lot you've been journaling on social media around your journey, and the lessons before COVID, the things you've learned, the triggers, support of the family, and all those kind of things. Please give us that benefit of knowing that journey.
Okay. Maybe then I should start the journey from 2016. Because I think that becomes important. In 2016, I think I had something, an event that one day I will talk about, that triggered me having to take responsibility for my own mental health. The funny thing is, I'm married to a doctor who has a very good understanding of mental health issues. And for me, I was prescribed medication for my mental ill health, which is bipolar 2, and the doctor told me that I was on dual medication. So they gave me an antidepressant and what they called an antipsychotic to balance me. And the funny thing is that that medication was sitting next to my bedside, because when I got the script, I got the medication and it was sitting on my bedside. And I was not taking it specifically because when I went to consult with my doctor, or the psychologist or psychiatrist who gave me the medication, said the after effects of this medication, or the side effects, will be that you may gain weight. So my thinking at the time, you can imagine, is I'm already having issues with depression, with vacillation of moods, and then you go to a doctor asking for help and they add another issue, which is, for a woman, weight gain. So I think the minute I heard weight gain, I decided I'm not taking the medication. So fast forward to 2016, I had started having severe, panic attacks. And I remember the defining moment was when I had a panic attack in the car, driving with my children. I had just picked them up from school. It was such a bad panic attack that I had to stop, and get on my knees to breathe. And I was with my son and daughter at the time. So we stopped. Fortunately, I was close to my mom's house, and then we came back home. When we came back home, I was hoping that my children would not say anything to my husband. But children are children. My son's middle name is Iniso, which means that the truth. So he always tells the truth. So he then says, Dada, I want to tell you something interesting happened. Mama had a panic attack, and, it was such drama in the car. Fast forward, when we had the conversation with my husband, his position was that of tough love. It was, Tuli, we consulted a doctor, we consulted a psychiatrist, we consulted a psychologist, but you refused to take medication and comply with the regimen prescribed to you. So I am feeling helpless. I don't know what to do. But the one decision I'm going to have to make, which is that of tough love, is going to be that I have to remove the children from you. You can't drive and put the children at risk. So I can say, Fundile, that was one of the biggest defining moments of me taking responsibility for my own mental health. So 2016, from 2016 until now, it's been quite a journey of, taking responsibility. And what I discovered in my journey is that for me, it was not really stigma from the outside that got to me. It was the self-stigmatization I did to myself, because one, the word bipolar to me just meant weakness, because there's so many things I had done in my life and I had achieved, and I just refused to name and label it. And then the second thing was the pill shaming. I pill shamed myself because I just couldn't understand that, I'm one of those people who have to take medication for their lives to be a lot better. So from then, I have been 100% compliant. I've tried, I take now my medication. I realize that my medication is my mental health ally. I take my medication religiously. I set a timer. I take it at the same time. I've had to understand that, my medication is not the happy pill. The happy pill is actually the exercise, which is what I learned. So I exercise so that I can get those endorphins. So I had to change my life. Now I'm actually addicted to the right thing, exercise. I realized that alcohol, I've been told this, I cannot take my medication and then take alcohol. I continued to take alcohol until I got to a point where I noticed that my speech was slurring. It would slur a long time after I taken alcohol. And then when I went to my psychiatrist to tell her, she said, can you just quit the alcohol so that we can know whether your medication is working or not? I quit the alcohol, and then I found out that the combinations that the doctors had for me works. I cannot overstress the support that I've had from my family, because from day one, I just decided to be open with my husband about it and my children, which was the hardest thing. And that was the best thing I think I did, because I then realized how much I was affecting them, especially when it came to my moods. My daughter recently wrote me a letter to tell me that, there was a time when she was growing up where she wished that she would stay home and come back late home, because sometimes I would get so angry that she didn't even know what would set me off. She just felt like she couldn't please me. Of course, at that time, I didn't know that, that was what was called hypermania at the time. So I think I will leave it there, Doc, so that I give an opportunity for my facility person to speak. Thanks.
All right. But just before Ulukanyiso, just to close the loop for people who may not understand what bipolar mood disorder is. Now, bipolar mood disorder, it's a mental health condition that causes extreme mood swings that include emotional highs, which we refer to as mania or hypomania, right? So mania encinci kanye mania enkulu, right? And also lows, which is depression, all right? So a person experiences both poles of extreme emotions in general. Now, so that is the definition of bipolar mood disorder. It is actually a lifelong condition, treatment, therapy, all right? So I think that's important. And Tuli mentioned that she has got type 2 bipolar mood disorder. There's two types of bipolar mood disorder. There's type 1, where a person has at least one manic episode, all right? So an episode of overexcitement that is preceded by hypomania or major depressive symptoms. It may go with some psychotic symptoms as well. Whilst bipolar 2, which is the one that Tuli says she suffers from, a person has at least one major depressive disorder episode and one hypomanic episode. However, it is rare for them to have a full-blown manic episode. All right. And one thing that is important about this is that it causes unpredictable mood, and it also causes unpredictable behavior. And it may cause significant distress and difficulties in one's life. So that's just a summary of what Tuli was talking about. So let's go to Ulukanyiso. Ulukanyiso, can you please just tell us about your journey with mental illness?
Thank you so much, Doc. I don't know if you can hear me.
Very well. Perfect.
All right. My journey with my mental health was actually a very long one, for the fact that in high school, I used to be very anxious. And I used to say to my mother each time, Mama, I'm anxious before every test, and so forth and so forth. And I would realize that, you know, just rescue drops was not helping me. During exams, I would have a literal panic attack. I would, blank out. And it would be a thing where mom would get me tutors and they'll be like, no, but nothing's wrong with your daughter, she can do this. But every time that, I would not do well in a test or something, it would get to a point where I would not self-harm per se, but I'll start to self-punish. Like in the days of the slaves, where on their back with a shambok. I would rather take a bout and hit myself in my back, to feel the pain. For me, the emotional pain was too much, so I didn't know how to deal with it. And also the emotional pain of my mental health, my mental illness really came for me in varsity, where I really felt the fact that I didn't have a relationship with my father. I was very triggered by hearing his name. If anybody said his name or something, but I would lie and say, no, I'm indifferent. But what I see now is that since I went for help at a Kiso clinic in Parktown, where the doctors felt that at this point my depression was just not moderate anymore, but got severe points. I used to drive to work because of workplace bullying, crying, having anxiety attack, driving to work every day. In the first 2 hours of work, I would have a panic attack where I can't do anything, and I'll be shaking at my desk. And I have a boss that's not very, she triggered me in ways that I didn't realize that she was triggering me every day. So it got to a point where it got so bad that my psychologist was like, no, we cannot give you antidepressants that you're having anymore, to get my GP. And they sent me directly to a Kiso clinic, where I was there for 21 days. And I must say, on the first day, it was very hard, because I was still in the place of, why am I still alive? Why am I still here? I've already been rejected as a child, abandoned by my situation with my father. I felt that there was so much pressure on me to be the best and be the exhibit A child. I had so much pressure that I had to be perfect. I had so much pressure that I actually didn't even have confidence in myself. Where normally, for me, writing or accounting, for instance, which is what my profession is, would come to me like second nature. And it stopped being like that. And I just wanted to end everything. I felt like a burden to everyone. I wanted everything done. And my first day at Akiso, I was scared. I cried the whole day when they told me that I must go, because the stigma behind mental health or mental illness. Um, it's not a thing that actually people do it deliberately, but it happens, and they say, "Why we are spending so much time," you know? And I didn't want that stigma to go with me. And I already had that mentality that just and oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm walking into. And as an anxious person, I need my life to be planned way ahead before I do anything. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So for me, it was very scary in that sense that I didn't know what I was walking into, but my
Yeah.
doctors my psychologist kept telling me you'll be fine, and I didn't understand. So anyway, I was there for 21 days. I was on antidepressants. I was on anti-anxiety pills, where they started me off on one anti-anxiety, and they realized my anxiety was too high, so now I had to take two anxiety pills. Um, you know, where I didn't realize it was that bad, and I got
Yeah.
triggered by so many things. And when we had our therapy meeting with my family, something so profound happened there, where my uncle asked me, "So what happens from now on?" For the fact that do we walk on eggshells to talk to you? Because I mean, at the end of the day, your father's your father, and what, you can't distance yourself. You can't be like, "Oh my gosh, don't speak about my father," and fall into pieces. And I realized from that moment, I don't want anybody to walk on eggshells speaking to me. So I shall make sure that I fix the relationship that I'm supposed to have with my father, so that when I do have any conversations that include him or anybody talks to me about him, I am not triggered. I am not hurt. I'm not crying. I'm not falling into pieces. And I'm not feeling like, why are we talking about the man that left me? And since I took that decision, it has been a milestone, because now I'm able to talk to him without being scared. I'm able to hear his name without being scared. And we're actually building such a great relationship so far, where I can call him and ask him for advice if I need advice, and just any other day, and able to speak to my siblings, which I had not been able to do for my 25 years. You know what I'm saying? So it's the mental health thing is that you don't know your triggers all the time until an event happens. And when we were there in Akiso, we were taught how to, when there's an event, you have a thought and a feeling, right? And then you have the urge to do something about that thought and feeling. And there's a DBT therapy that they use, and they say you need to have a pause between those two, and say, okay, if I do this thing, what is the consequence, or what behavior would happen for the consequence to happen? You know? So for me, it was a thing of, okay, I need to now think about these things. However, it does not mean that after I came out of cases after 21 days, I was perfect. Because I came out, I was overwhelmed. I had episodes, panic episodes, where there was a time, I have an afternoon pill for my anxiety. I forgot to take it. I had a huge panic attack. I started cleaning the house. I started shaking. It was a mess, but it was over Ipilis,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's so weird. And then next thing, good to I know, you're going into another 21 days. I just came out of 21 days. I'm going into another 21 days. And I feel like I'm in solitary confinement. My brain thinks I'm in solitary confinement. And I was diagnosed with a major depressive disorder, you know. And it was also another thing that I had to start accepting. Besides the post, like what Auntie said, that I started doing yoga. I started doing exercises. I was jogging around the complex until they said we can't anymore, which also put me into a panic, because that was one of the things that I could do to get out of the house.
Yeah.
I still feel that maybe I wish government could review that, because honestly, I need that one day to go out. I need to at least see the fresh air, you know. Yeah, that's my journey so far, and I'm still walking it.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna get to is affected you, but I just like I did with Utuli, I just want to quickly summarize major depression. After that, Tuli, you're gonna come back and talk to us about how have you been impacted by the lockdown and everything around that. All right. So I thought it's important just to use this opportunity to just share some info about major depressive disorder. It is a mood disorder. So depression is a mood disorder that causes a persistent feeling of sadness and loss of interest, all right, on things that one used to be interested in. It's some people, they call it a major depressive disorder or clinical depression, but it affects how you feel, how you think, and how you behave. And it can lead to a variety of emotional and physical problems. You may have trouble doing normal day-to-day activities. And sometimes you may feel as if life isn't worth living. Depression may also at times require long-term treatment, but the symptoms really, feeling of sadness, tearfulness, emptiness, hopelessness, anger outbursts, irritability, frustration over even small matters, loss of interest in activities that one used to enjoy, hobbies, sports, sleep disturbances, insomnia or sleeping too much, which is called hypersomnia, tiredness or lack of energy, even to do small tasks, appetite changes, either low appetite or very raised appetite, anxiety, agitation, restlessness, slowed thinking, speaking, or body movements, feelings of worthlessness or guilt, fixation with past failures or self-blame, trouble thinking, concentrating, and making decisions and remembering things, and frequent and recurrent thoughts of death, suicidal thoughts, suicide attempts, or even completed suicide. Unexplained physical problems can accompany, these emotional problems. So that's just an overview of major depression disorder, which is what Ulukanyiso says she was diagnosed with recently, and she had to be hospitalized to try and deal with that. So let's go back to Tuli. Tuli, we were cruising nicely, year 2020, everything going well, your condition nicely controlled. And then state of disaster happened. Take us from there.
I actually remember the day, Doc, that I heard that there was the first case in South Africa. I had just, I was in Johannesburg at the airport when I saw that in the news, and I had just finished the board meeting. I sit on a board of one of the aviation companies, and we were discussing how Italy had impacted the aviation industry, that it was having a knock-on effect on our business. So I think my anxiety started from there. But at the same time, I still had that level of hope because we didn't have a confirmed case in South Africa. I get to the airport at the lounge, I'm looking for my gate number, and then the news comes that there's a case in South Africa. You can even feel in my speech, because when I start to be anxious, then, my heart starts racing. I think my heart started racing because I think, like Umtanam has said just before, it becomes a trigger. Because for me, one of the triggers is when I feel like I'm not in control. I start feeling, anxious. Because of my journey, with my talking therapist, I have come to identify anxiety as an ally of mine. She taught me that anxiety is my body's early warning system. That is, So I remember going out onto the flight. So you at the airport at that time, it was not even clear where I think that the first case, they weren't clear whether Uwambe through the Johannesburg airport or Durban. So I think that heightened my anxiety because I was thinking, you know, something is going to happen to me. And you can imagine what happens from that time. People start having conversations about it. We didn't know much about it. So everybody had an opinion of what it's going to mean. And it was all doom and gloom. I think from that moment, just from the Johannesburg airport until I got home, you know, the conversations of people, the news, and everybody having an opinion and everybody scared. At the same time, our chairperson called me saying, you know, did you hear? It means that our business, in the aviation industry, obviously we were major impacted. So again, now it talks to my bread and butter. So again, it was another anxiety. You know, until I got home, I remember I got home and then it hit me that, wait a minute, I am married to a doctor, which means that he's in the front line of this thing. And you know, one thing I've learned as well with bipolar disorder, I 10x everything. So everything is times 10 for me. You know how what I feel. And for me, my mind was already going that I'm going to die. I'm going to lose my children's father and Yonke Londo.